track, getting hit multiple times. Coming out of that bike section, more drivers coming to blows.
Welcome in, sim racing fans. You are looking live at Sebring International Raceway in its digital form on iRacing for the broadcast of the Esports Club Racing League here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. I am your host, Charles Boshell, calling the action with producer extraordinaire Josh Wilkie in the booth, giving you the sights and sounds of our event. This event will give us the Formula Vees competing on the full international layout of Sebring, 3.75 miles of bump, twists, and drafts in what is sure to be 30 minutes of exciting side-by-side racing. And it's good to be back on audio and video here for tonight's event. We will bring you in, and as we're in the middle of lone qualifying, just getting that wrapped up, Brian Stasinski, your current pole sitter with a 238.17. Miles Crabb in second, Michelle Lynn in third, Chris Montgomery fourth, Scott Russell rounds out your top five, and is looking forward to a good race tonight. Obviously, these are the Formula V's, or as I like to call them, the Formula Wees, because they're just fun little cars to drive. Not the fastest cars in the world, but really good for some side-by-side racing, as well as really good in the draft. And with these long straightaways here at Sebring, you can be sure that that's going to keep the pack tightened up. And we're going to be in for some good side-by-side battling here. And so lots and lots of passing, we hope, as we get the qualifying wrapped up here. Over about halfway through. We got about 6 minutes left. And Josh, I don't know if you've got your mic unmuted or not since we get this started.
Yep.
But what are your thoughts about the race? Now, you actually do run the Formula V's quite a bit.
Yeah, I get the luxury of doing the Formula V Weekend Warriors on Sunday mornings, or on Saturday mornings. Sorry, here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. I've been doing it for a few seasons now, so pretty well versed in these things so far. Around Sebring here is going to be another draft track for sure. We're going to see a lot of passing around here. We're going to see a lot of double wide racing. It's going to be about good decision making, getting those drafts right, finding kind of a group of cars to race with, maybe not fighting too hard at the wrong moments, making good decisions throughout the whole thing. And I think that's who's going to end up taking this one. We've got some pretty heavy hitters in our field here as well throughout the Weekend Warrior universe, as well as the Ray Esports universe here. There is and some new drivers as well, so it should be a pretty interesting one, Charles. I think we're going to see a lot of mixing it up here. Jake Schilling, I believe, actually sponsoring tonight's race too, so we want to give out a big thanks to him. We're just watching him complete a lap here of Sebring. Not an easy lap around here for sure. It's a rather big track for these cars too. It can feel large out there. It can feel hard to find that line when you're out there by yourself for sure.
Yeah, it really is. This is, once again, 3 3/4 miles. So this is one of the biggest tracks I think that we run the V zone. With some kind of often you see this track come out. Obviously, springtime is everybody's kind of gearing up for the two big IMSA races that starts off the season with Daytona and then followed up with Sebring. So any laps you can get out here is a good lap, a good chance to get some practice in. And as you can see, these cars, once again, not the fastest cars on iRacing, but still provide some really, really good racing. Obviously, entry level for the SCCAs. So you'll see a lot of our SCCA real life drivers coming in and trying to apply their wear and get a little more seat time. Even in the sim, it just gives a little bit of a benefit to these racers to get some laps in here in the sim before they put it out on the track for real. As we see now, Justin Huffman moving up into P2. Jumping up there over Chris Montgomery. So the lap times are still coming down as the qualifying session continues forward, and we burn off a little more fuel. We do have 23 cars that are in here for tonight. We see Joaquin Effinger just popping out at P22. We do have one of our SMB colleagues, Guido Marzucchi, who has not set a qualifying time yet. He's out there on the track, but hasn't managed to get a qualifying time. And my assumption is, there we go, coming in, P14. So he is starting to get ramped up. He's been running well, but I will kind of, talk about this is our second race here for the Formula V's in this season for the Ray Esports Club Racing League. And if you weren't with us, the first race for the Formula V's was way back on November 13th as they run a staggered schedule with 5 different groups of cars being put out there on the track. And Josh Justice was our winner last round, with Justin Huffman finishing in second, and then Miles Crabb finishing in third. And so once again, we'll see how Josh can get moved up. Currently running in P18th. See Justin Huffman back up into that P2 spot. So he's got his car dialed in for tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely have Brian Trzynski here, definitely stepping it up these days. We're hearing in the chat here as well, I believe, from his brother here, that he really has in the last bit. I've been again had the fortune to watch some of these guys in the Weekend Warriors, and in the last few seasons he's really turned it up a bit. Seems to be a bit of a specialist around Sebring here, and that's something you kind of need to be around here. There's a very unique track you can kind of be a specialist around here. I would say though, definitely, even as good as you can be around here, the character around the track, every lap just seems to be different. You seem to have this track dialed, and then you find a new bump or just a new way to do a corner, or perhaps a way that the car throws you into a corner, or the track throws you into a corner. It can be difficult around here for sure, but I think that's maybe what we're seeing between some of these drivers here as well, is just actually getting that lap down. So you can have that lap in the bank, you can be out there and be able to do that lap, but to actually be able to get it done in the 15 minutes around here is easier said than done around Sebring.
Yeah, absolutely. You only get a chance for about 4, maybe 5 laps, actually 4 laps. I'm going to change that. I think 5 laps is a little bit too long. So 4 laps is really all you have an opportunity to get. So you need to go out there and get it, at least to get a good banker lap set in before you start really trying to push hard and run the edges of the track limits. And so it's once again, you talked about track knowledge being with Brian being somewhat of a Sebring specialist. You log laps at a track and you do learn those little nuances of where the best lines are, what bumps you can take that will help you and what bumps you can't, you need to avoid. And then you take that car knowledge as well, how a car behaves and how it reacts to the bumps, reacts to the curbs, and how you have to kind of sling it through the corners. And you put those two things together and you end up with a good time. And it looks like Brian has absolutely done that. It looks like he's primed and ready to go, as he still is holding on to the pole as qualifying is now over. And so Brian Stasinski will get pole position for tonight. And as we move over, once again, we will thank Jake Schilling for sponsoring tonight's race. It's good to see these cars back out on the track. It's good to be talking about them as we wrap over into the race session. We'll get our starting grid up here just shortly, and there it is. Brian Stasinski on pole tonight, 2 minutes 38.174. Chris Montgomery outside of row 1. Justin Huffman slotting in P3. Andrew Love with a good run, slotting in P4. Michelle Lynn starting in 5th. Matt Thompson starts in 6th. Miles Crabb starting in 7th. Guido Marzucchi starts in 8th. Scott Russell starting in P9. And Seth Spolman rounds out your top 10. Aaron Bray runs in 11th. Jake Schilling, our sponsor for the night, will start in P12 as we wrap to the second screen. Jamison Hutman will start in P13. Joe Cicchetti starting in 14th. Josh Justice in 15th. Freddie Weaver starting in 16th. Mark Sherman starts in P17. Edgar Sancinelli starting in 18th. Jason Greider in 19th. Wayne Buttermore in P20. Lucas Bachman starting in 21st. Mike Key starting in 22nd. And Joaquin Effinger will round out your 23-car starting grid as we are getting lined up. And we're going to have us a pace lap. Looks like a short pace lap. So we'll be ready to ramp this thing up in short order here, Josh.
Yeah, absolutely. And the start's going to be key around here for sure. It's a pretty long rip into T1, and there's a lot of decision-making to be made between here and T1 and trying to figure that out. This whole first section as well is going to be is a place where you're really trying to sort it out and get with your pack here. But I think we're about to go green here. This pace car is about to roll in, and it looks like we're going green here. Montgomery getting a pretty good start so far.
Yeah, looks like a good start by the front row. As also a good start by Justin Huffman there in 3rd. So the top 3 moving out a little bit as the field starts fanning out 3-4 wide, coming down into turn 1. You can start that way, but you can't finish that way. You got to get that tightened up before you get out of that corner. As they head down the straightaway, the little short straight that runs down into turn 3, little kink there, turn 2 to the right, as it was slotted in with Stasinski in the lead, followed by Montgomery and Huffman. Michelle Lynn in 4th. Miles Crabb with a good start, moved up to P5 as we work our way out of turn 5, down the straightaway, through 6, down into the hotel hairpin, which is turn 7 for the first time. And this is the first really good opportunity we're going to get some good draft as these cars get up to speed.
Yeah, and that's correct for sure. You can see that draft working for some of the cars mid-pack here, seeing if they can sort out Guido Marzucchi definitely in the mix there as well. I believe that's Jake Schilling right beside him, Seth Spolman. We're actually looking at right now Josh Justice also in that pack here. And this is where you really want to sort that out. You can see that gap starting to build already in that front group of Formula V cars. And if you wait a little bit too long, you got the pressure. You should be feeling it right now. You need to close that gap a little bit if you think you have some speed, as we see Guido having a little look out at, on the inside there, as well as Joshua Justice having a peek, but not really doing it quite yet. Brian Trzynski still leading pretty commandingly out front here.
Yeah, absolutely. So good start for everybody, as looks like we might have a little bit of an issue with our timing and scoring there, Josh. I was on board kind of giving that a watch. It looks like it's cleared itself up now. So now we've got some intervals that are now showing up. So we've just had a little bit of issue there. So yeah, it's all good. So we're back to live action here, as we're on board now with Trzynski leading the race as we work our way out of the Le Mans. Out of Le Mans and down in. Still, so far, no incidents on the track. So really clean start by our drivers out here tonight. As we head down the Ulm Straight for the first time, another big dose of that draft as you see the car starting to fan out. Now 3 wide in spots going down into the Ulm Straight, heading down to Sunset Bend in their first real test of the bumps as we work our way through, as we see Justin Huppen with that inside line working his way to the lead. Chris Montgomery following him to finish in second. Trzynski sitting in third.
That's Justice.
A bit of spin there. That's Josh Justice around. We got some cars running wide. Oh, there was one into the wall in the background there. Could not see who that was.
We lost a good group of cars there for sure. I believe that was Justice, some Huffman in there. We may have even lost
and Marzuki
as well, as we're getting pretty dicey up front here again. So Montgomery able to hold on to it through this first lap here. We did see Huffman briefly take the lead there for a moment over Brian Trzynski and Montgomery. We actually have Michelle Lynn up the inside here now, so still pretty dicey up at the front, but we had definitely had an incident in the back there. Some people getting caught up in it after the fact as well, so we'll try to go back and have a look at that. But that first time into Sunset, trying to go up the inside is kind of what it looks like happened there.
Yeah, that's what you're going to see tonight. You're going to see a big draft on that Ulm Straight, that back straight, as cars fan out and try and make moves. They're going to get a lot of speed from the toe from the car in front as we work our way down through the hairpin one more time with Huffman still in the lead. Montgomery, that was Huffman running wide there. So wide coming out of the hairpin, manages to hang on to first place, but you'll see that draft and cars making passes down the backstretch, easing their way through Sunset Bend, through that very long hairpin, very bumpy hairpin, and back on the front straight, and we get to do it all over again as that draft still continues on, and you'll see more passing as they work their way down to turn 1. So no surprise, that's what happened, and we'll probably see that every lap during this race as Huffman continued to lead. We're on board with Aaron Bray, who has worked his way up into, is in P11, as we see another set of cars off the track in the background. Seth Spolman, Mark Sherman, Wayne Buttermore involved. And I think I heard one of the drivers come on the mic and say that they missed a shift. So, obviously you miss a shift, and depending on how that goes for you, the best thing that can happen is you're really slow and the cars avoid you. The worst thing that can happen is you blow your engine and everybody piles into the back of you. So it looks like both Sherman and Buttermore are in the pits now for repairs with their meatball flags. We see Jamison Huffman also in the pit, or also out of the race, along with Guido Marzuki out of the race as well, as we're back up to that front group again. And Michelle Lynn with the inside run takes over P1 as they work their way through Sunset with a wide line. You see Justin Huppen with a little bit of a crossover action there, coming back around and taking the inside, and not quite enough to get up there. So don't know, maybe he kind of slowed down. I don't know, unless he cut it to the inside on pit road. I don't know that there's a slowdown there, but obviously off the pace, and he's going to drop back down into P5. Still kind of running the outside along with Montgomery, as we see Miles Crab up P4, and looking to the inside there of Michelle Lynn, as Trzynski and Montgomery have both got by her and back into that lead pack as Miles Crab joins them up into P3. And Crab having a good run, up 4 positions already in the first 6 minutes of this race, so having a good start.
Yeah, we got a few movers there for sure. Mike Key as well, up 8 positions. Edgar Sanchinelli up 6. Freddie Weaver up 6. Jake Schilling, sponsor of tonight's race, there up 5. So that's looking pretty good. Got a few down as well there. Justin Huffman down 2. Andrew Love down 2. So Seth Bowman down 9 as well. So you definitely have some takers and some givers there when it comes to the first few laps of these V races. Not easy to sort things out. You can see here, there's pretty much racing everywhere in the pack. Hard to know where to look at times. Pretty much anywhere you look, you're going to find somebody tooth and nail with somebody else. So lots of racing out there for sure. I believe we're looking at now Matt Thompson, Jake Schilling, and I believe that is Freddie Weaver as well, just with them in tow here. So yeah, all kinds of racing all over the place, Charles.
Yeah, really, absolutely. And we do have we have our as incidents occur, we get these kind of natural breaks in the groupings. And we do have a 6-car group up front. That's Stasinski, Montgomery, Crabb, Lynn, Huffman, and Love, your top 6, and they are in a pack together. That second group starts with Scott Russell, Jake Schilling, and Matt Thompson. And then in P10 is Aaron Bray starting another group that contains himself, Freddie Weaver, who just made the move up to P10, Edgar Sanchinelli, and Joe Cicchetti. And then you got Mike Key kind of in a bubble all to himself, Josh Justice as well. We saw him with an incident on lap 1. Now we got Jake Schilling with the yellow flag, which means he has a slowdown. He's going to have to bleed off some of that time, give that time back to the iRacing gods, as he is apparently went over the limit somewhere. And we're going to get a replay here. This is the opening lap incident here involving Josh Justice on the inside 3 wide going down into Sunset Bend, and just like he just loses the car just a little bit. Yeah, he just couldn't keep up with it. I think maybe the car in front of him slowed slightly as he was still trying to hold on to the rear end of the car, and the little bit of extra braking he had to do was enough to go ahead and send it around. You see him kind of working through there. Yeah, it's already in a half spin. He catches it and then nowhere to go, brakes, makes contact with, I think that was Aaron Bray in front. So he and Aaron Bray with a little bit of contact, but no, that's probably the easiest way to make contact without damaging the car, is that nose to tail kind of bump there. As long as you don't start, going wheel to wheel and having wheel to wheel contact, that's where you end up with suspension and wheel damage, and you look like you've got you're hobbling around the track trying to get back to the pit lane. So Miles Crabb has now moved his way up into P1. So he's taken the lead over Montgomery, and Stasinski has managed to pull himself a little bit of a gap. Obviously, the draft is going to bring those cars right back into them. So they'll work their way through the hairpin here, turn 7, and then out, and they'll run down into Collier and Cunningham as they continue on. And now this is the second group led by Scott Russell with Matt Thompson and Jake Schilling in tow. They're about 5 seconds off of that lead group. So you see them just up in the distance there. And he's going to want those guys to be fighting tooth and nail. Those drivers, as Michelle is in that group, fighting tooth and nail to help him get a little bit of that time back. That's really the only way once these groups get split up. That's really the only way of getting any time back, is just from the battles in between cars going side by side through some of these corners. They bleed off so much speed. It just makes it really easy to catch that back up. But as of now, not so much. They've managed to kind of stay nose to tail for a few minutes as they'll do their little leapfrogs on the straightaways, and then they'll get back in line and race a little bit more. But I think as the time bleeds off, as we now hit the 10-minute mark, 1/3 of the way through the race, those will start picking up here in about 10 minutes or so. We get that last 10 minutes, and then things get a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. The ebb and flow here, back and forth of the draft. You see Chris Montgomery here being able to easily just pull by Miles Crabb on the straight, and you see Brian Trzynski actually moved up a position or two now. Him and Michelle Lynn have been back and forth, this lead group back and forth. It really comes down to kind of timing at the end of the race here. So kind of a long way to go. So now it's about survival. It's about kind of finding a partner maybe in this group of drivers here, not to get too spicy about things every lap, because man, you can start sweating in the car and make a mistake really easy. You brought up a good point, actually. This is pretty much it's it's a game of errors almost at this point. If you make an error up front here, you'll all of a sudden have 3 more cars on you. Make another one, you'll have 5 more cars on you. And you just slip backwards. Every error you make, every little error on the brakes, every little error in draft, every time you maybe make a move that doesn't work, you're going to end up losing time. And we can see that happen in these V races over and over again every weekend. And it's really about trying to kind of be progressive and stay forward, find a partner and move with them, maybe not hinder the people around you as much as possible. And that's what we're seeing out front here with these lead drivers for sure are doing a really good job of that. Andrew Love has definitely joined the party here now as well.
Yeah, exactly right. You do want to find it's a little bit of as Darrell Waltrip used to say in the NASCAR broadcast, it's a little bit of co-opetition. You want to cooperate until it's time to compete. So you want to cooperate until you get to the last few minutes of the race, and then you can start doing the competing against each other. Because obviously, as you said, these cars, anytime you're in a fixed, a single class series, single make series, such as the Formula V's, and we see it as well with the Formula 410, just basically everything we see here in the Ray Esports Club Racing League is a lot of single make racing. And it really is just a matter of not committing errors. If you don't commit errors, you're going to get a good result out of your race because the cars are so equally matched that it's hard to tweak a car to tweak something in the setup to make it much faster than everybody else, especially when you're on a track that has a good dose of draft and you've got cars that are really good in the draft. Makes it even that much more difficult. So it's good to see these drivers just basically once again cooperating with each other. They're passing when they have to. When they get the overspeed, they're making that move. They're not fighting each other. But once again, as we get a little bit further into the race, as those laps tick off, you'll start seeing a lot more of those moves made, and you'll start seeing a little bit more blocking. You'll start seeing a little more side-by-side racing. And that's going to tighten some things up as we see, just looking at Andrew Love. The draft is really keeping him alive here as he was over that 1 second, but the draft has kind of pulled him back down to 7/10. So he's managing to hang on just to the edge of this top 6. And he really needs to work a little bit there to tighten that up if he can. As we see now, Brian Szynski in P2 with the fastest lap of the race, 238.239. Not quite enough to get by Montgomery, who is in the lead. Miles Crabbe still sitting there in third. So we see the battling still going on back there in that second group with Jake Schilling, Matt Thompson, and Edgar Santinelli. I'm sorry, it's actually just 2 now. It's just Schilling and Thompson running as a tandem. As we've lost one of the drivers there. I think Scott Russell was involved in that. He is now in the pits, so he's had to go in and get some service done, and he's going to drop all the way down into the lower teens as we're going to get a replay here with Scott as he's on board, and you see the 2 cars in front, and it's just a little bit. Oh, is he too wide coming through Le Mans?
I don't think he might be having problems at hardware issues potentially. I was just looking at another replay where he sort of let them by and he kind of went off the road a little bit. I think maybe he went in the pit after this, so perhaps something we can't see going on there with Scott Russell, and he decided to park it, I think.
Yeah, that may be the case, but it's we got to do. We've got back to our group here, the 57 car of Edgar Santinelli. And it looks like he has got, is that Freddie Weaver just in front of him? He does indeed. That is Freddie Weaver just in front as these guys are still battling. As you see the draft working to Santinelli's favor, he's going to jump in front. And then it's going to be Weaver using that draft to come back up. And they're just doing their little game of leapfrog and waiting for some mistakes to happen a little bit further up, which is what you have to do sometimes. Once you've kind of lost that front group, you're in conservation mode there, just keeping the car clean, not making any mistakes as we get a good battle here with Cicchetti and Josh Justice and Aaron Bray. So nice 3-car battle there, and that is for P11 as those cars are doing very much the same thing. As we're back to the front here with Montgomery in the lead, Szynski in second. As now we see Szynski moving to the inside. He's going to use that speed to his advantage and move ahead, and he's going to have the inside line going into Sunset Bend. As you see him a little bit too wide there, as they're still battling, but not so much. It's still pretty tame at this point in the race, as we're just past the halfway point, as Sosinski takes the lead over Montgomery. Crab, Lynn, and Huffman, and now Love has got back into that group, so he's firmly entrenched in that top 6. And that gap that's behind has really ballooned up to 9 seconds over Matt Thompson, sitting there in P7 with Jake Schilling in tow. So that's another one of those. They're still doing the same thing. They still see the leapfrogs of them changing positions with the draft, and but they're losing time to this 6-car group up front.
Yeah, absolutely. You get squabbling a little bit too much, kind of like we just saw right there. A little bit of just kind of argy-bargy, maybe not placing the car quite right, and like you were saying, you just end up kind of moving backwards here. They're trying. You can see the drivers out there trying to read each other as they're coming down the straightaway. Where should I go? Should I try to pass you? You're going to let me through this time? Should I go on the inside, the outside? Who's going to make that move? And if you do it just right, it's, and you can kind of play a bit of a dance, and you can actually move forward. You can be faster than everyone else on the track, and I think at least a quarter, maybe half of the track, they're able to get that done, and then there's a little bit of squabbling through some of the other parts, excuse me, of the track. It makes it very difficult, especially maybe if you haven't been around this group of drivers. I know personally, and I'm sure you've watched me in the SRFs more than a few times, or FFs. You get yourself up into 5th place or into that top group of fast drivers, but then you have to hang with them, and they have to kind of almost allow you to hang with them a little bit too. They have to play ball back and forth, and the best way to do that is to just try to be as clean as you can and try to stay off people as best you can and try to move forward as best you can, and that's what everybody's trying to do here. It's difficult to do when you're in such a big group of cars, or maybe even sometimes when you're in a smaller one. You just want to get forward. You're a little bit faster than someone, and you have to kind of hold that back a little bit and try to play ball with them. Maybe someone like Joshua Justice here, who knows he can be up front and is just frustrated now, a little bit of damage on the nose, but you have to play ball. You have to hold on to that position. Maybe something will come your way.
That's it. And these group of drivers, we do get some new drivers in here that integrate pretty well into the group. But by and large, these are names that I've been talking about, for years now. For the vast majority of these drivers that are out here, names like Chris Montgomery and Miles Crab, Michelle Lynn, Sosinski is really starting to get in there and is racing more with the group. So it's good to see Brian out there. Obviously, is pretty kind of well known in this circle anyway. So not like that's he's just an unknown name. The unknown names you kind of recognize pretty quick. Is they don't necessarily. I think everybody just kind of treats them with a little bit of kid gloves at the start, but doesn't let them. It kind of leads by example in kind of here's how we're going to race tonight.
Yep.
So you kind of see it, and very very few incidents I would say are just incidents out of rage or bad driving in general, bad racecraft. These groups once again don't really put up with that, and you can get away with that once, and then you get a conversation going with the rest of the drivers, and they kind of police themselves as it goes. As we'll take a look here at Matt Thompson coming around, and he's all by himself now, so he's kind of just pulled out over Jake Schilling, and I'd say Schilling probably made a mistake somewhere. He's dropped off just a little bit there, 2.7 behind Matt. And Matt, I'm sure, is kind of wishing that he still had that dance partner with him, because two cars are going to go faster than one during the course of that, as we see Santinelli and Weaver now trying to close the gap on Schilling. So you may see Schilling falling back to that group instead of maybe moving ahead, as we see Seth Bowman now with the black flag, and he has taken it to the pits. So not a great day for Seth there, as he is, I think, going to park the car, and that will be race done for him tonight, as we're at the 20-minute mark. So 10 minutes left to go. And now you should start seeing a little more activity amongst these groups as they're out there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now things, 10 minutes left. You start feeling that burn right about now. This place is pretty big, so that's not a whole lot of laps to get it done if you're going to get it done. As we got a bit of a blink happening there. Hopefully that doesn't persist any longer. But yeah, this is when you definitely start thinking about it. This is when the moves start getting made. They got a pretty good gap now, from the people behind them as well. So they got a little bit of you can do some argy-bargy, maybe show your hand a little bit now. Although I probably wouldn't quite yet if it was me. I would wait again. I would be new to this group, let's say, if I was driving there and I happened to be fast enough to be out front here. And what I would be doing is kind of looking around for who's the fastest guy or who's the fastest driver at the moment, and trying to kind of attach to them and see what they're doing, and then you just try to kind of outsmart them at the end, really. And we've seen many a time when the likes of Tor or Tullo or Chris Montgomery or a Miles Crabb for that matter, or even a Michelle Lynn, have all taken wins in their respective classes or even overalls. So there's a lot of talent out there. Any one of these drivers could take it. And we're going to have to just see how it figures out here. This is not an easy track to finish on, let's say. It's not an easy track to drive on, but that last lap is going to be a difficult lap. You got to figure out where you're going to make that happen and do it right, or you just find yourself going backwards real fast.
Yeah, and even Andrew Love is normally very, and you see the number 945 is capable of winning this race tonight.
Absolutely,
and that number is a number significant for this league. This doesn't matter, but for the Weekend Warriors, which is also put on by Ray Esports, the 900 numbers signify Masters drivers, which means they're over 60 years of age. And Andrew has just recently graduated back into the Masters class. It's the old 77th Infantry Division from World War II, which had the highest average age of all their soldiers. They were all basically over 30, and so their motto was old age and treachery. You always want to look out for the old guys. They're liable
That's
to
fitting with him in
the
the back of the pack here. He's just waiting, trying to figure out exactly what he's going to do. And we've seen Andrew Love do that more than a few times. Last couple seasons has really come on with the speed. Is always kind of in the conversation. He's going to hang out back there and wait for something to come his way for sure. And when it does, he'll be there to snag it. We've seen him do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely capable of winning this race. But obviously, we're coming around down Olma Straight again on lap 9 here, 23 and a half minutes in. I'm just kind of doing the math here. I think we're going to be 3 to go at the line. Things are ramping up. So we're only going to about 3 more shots at this. These long drafts where you see Montgomery on the inside, Stasinski on the outside, trying to go the long way around here, and you can carry a little more speed, but you got to make sure that it's not too much, because that outside wall looms large as you're exiting that corner, and you see just not enough. Montgomery able to carry enough momentum on the inside to hold that for the time being, but you see a good run there by I think that's Miles Crabb there on the far right side and the left side of your screen as they're working around, or maybe that was Justin Huffman. We'll see there, but as you can see, too wide coming through that corner now. So they're not waiting around. They're not lining back up once they get through the corners. They're still running too wide. So I think it's game on at this point as we see Brian in front, followed by Montgomery, Crabb, Huffman, Lynn, and Love. Your top 6. These are the cars that are going to be battling for the race victory. And I just want to mention, as they were going too wide, the gap back to Matt Thompson was over 9.5 seconds. It's now 8.2. So that just shows you how much slower these cars go, trying to keep themselves off of each other, going through these corners side by side.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're seeing it again there. Miles Crabb taking a pretty good dive up the inside there of Chris Montgomery. And you're right, Charles. You can see the tolerances just kind of tighten up a little bit all of a sudden, right? As soon as this lap started, a little bit less quarter given, a little bit less room in between tires. Definitely starting to go 2 and 3 wide into things, thinking about I'm going to place myself here and see if I can push you backwards, sort of, or at least let them know, hey, I'm here and I'm going for it now. And that's exactly what we're seeing. You can see Brian Stasinski actually taking some liberties on that one right away. So that little move that we saw Miles Crabb do up the inside there has actually slowed that entire pack down, and that's what we're talking about. That's a pretty good physical representation of exactly how that works. So he's a bit of a plug in that car. It's not going to matter. There's enough air between them here that they're going to be able to catch right back up to Brian here, I think. But that's a pretty good way to show it. And as like you said, we're about 8.5 now to Matt Thompson. So, those two moves, one move into the corner has lost over a second, and that's how easy it can happen. 5 seconds is, a half spin, and boom, the guy's passing you, right? So anything can happen here still. It could even be Matt Thompson's race at this point. He's out by himself there, but, you can watch these cars part the ways, on the last lap in a couple corners, and all of a sudden you're in podium position.
That's it. That's exactly right. And that was a good observation there with Stasinski kind of stretching the gap out, and you can see the draft just pull him all the way back down as Montgomery makes that inside dive to take over P2, and the gap is now under 1 second. These cars need to once again line themselves back up. They do have to stay in line long enough to catch back up to Stasinski in the lead to make this a pack again. As you see the gaps just visually just becoming closer and closer. The cars in the mirror are becoming larger as they're working their way down the front straight. Yeah, you see it under a half second, down to a half second now. So the times are really coming down, and the gap is closing. And so they'll be back up here again in no time flat. And we'll be back to another 6-car battle as we're I think we're going to be on the white flag coming around the next time. So we've got a lap plus a little bit left here as those cars are closing the gap down. And we got a nice little 3-car battle here. This is Aaron Bray, Joe Cicchetti, and Josh Justice. The battle once again for P11, and they're still fighting. Obviously, you want to be, if you've got 2 cars in front of you, you want to be the car in front. So these guys are going to keep battling as we get further and further down, and you'll see some really tight racing here through this lap and the next as we're wrapping this race up. As you just kind of run down the list here, Lucas Bachman is in 14th, Mike Key running in 15th, Scott Russell down to 16th. I saw him come into the pit last lap. So big gap there. Jason Grider, JG1 running in 17th, Wayne Buttermore 18th, Mark Sherman 19th, Joaquin Effinger in 20th, Seth Bowman, Guido Marzuki, and Jamison Huffman all out of the race. Those are your last 3 cars as we're still seeing this nice battle, and back to the front we go as they work their way around that's through Tower to get this little run down into the final couple of corners of Indy and Le Mans. You get this nice little run with a little bit of a left-hand kink involved in this as they work their way through. You want to get a good line through there, carry your speed through as we get around, and here we're going into Indianapolis. Nice flat corner here. You just basically ride the curbs on both sides. Or as you see, Michelle not even taking the curb. She's keeping it very tight through there. So nice job by Michelle Lynn. And a good run out of Le Mans down the Ulma Straight. And we'll be coming down in the Sunset Bend and around to the first turn again one more time as we will have the white flag. We come back around the start-finish line. Stasinski with the inside line, taking the defensive line down through. He's going to let Montgomery kind of work the outside there. Going to hold the inside, keep that car as tight as you can, hit that bump in the mid-corner there, get the car wrapped around, and maintain the lead as we now have this 6-car group coming down with the white flag in the air. Coming down in the row into turn 1, Montgomery on the inside. Got just a little bit of a lead there, only 0.05 of a second as they work their way down through turn 1 as Stasinski takes that's Montgomery taking a very tight line through there. And Stasinski doing a good job to keep pace as we're now in the middle of this with Miles Crabb sitting in 3rd. They work their way around through turn 3 and into 4 and 5 to get this run down to the hotel hairpin. And so far, everybody doing good. You got to be very careful on the outside curb there. You get off in the dirt, and it's a chore to get that car back on straight. As we're now on board with Justin Huffman there, as we kind of fall back the order a little bit, you start seeing it fanning out too wide. Looks like Stasinski is going to kind of take the outside line and make it difficult for Montgomery to make it out of the corner, but he manages to get clear and through in the hairpin and then out as we head our way down into Collier and Cunningham through this little S section here as the speed builds back up. And you see just nothing in between these cars. Michelle Lynn sitting a little bit further back there in P5 but has Andrew Love in tow, and that tightens back up. Quarter second between each car out in this group here. So they work their way through Cunningham, heading down into Tower corner. One more time, got to be very careful here as well. You don't want to carry, you don't want to get back on the throttle too early. It'll push you wide and out into the dirt. And it looks like everybody has successfully navigated that as we work our way down the straightaway and into the final couple of corners before Ullman. This will be Indianapolis and Le Mans, as still 6 cars up front. And I can imagine this is going to be quite crazy here as we get on this last straightaway, the last lunge down Ullman and in the Sunset Bend here as we work our way through. Looks like everybody's just getting cleared. So we see Andrew Love falling off just a little bit, but he's going to be able to tow right back up into this group. And now here we go, the run down Ullman straight, one more time down, 2 wide, as the cars behind are still closing in. And we've got Stasinski and Montgomery side by side coming down into the final corner one more time through Sunset Bend. And it's just Stasinski out by a car length as they work their way through, but just loses it there as Chris Montgomery comes up the middle. Miles Crabb on the inside. It's going to be a drag race down to the start-finish line. Who's going to get this? It's going to be Miles Crabb finishing this race in P1 from third through the final corner. Montgomery finishing second, Stasinski third, Huffman in fourth, Michelle Lynn in fifth, Andrew Love in sixth. What a great run by Miles Crabb there out of the final corner. Cuts it really, really tight on the inside as we get the more cars coming through. This is the battle with Bray, Justice, and Freddie Weaver, I believe. I'm sorry, Sancinelli. As these cars come through, it looks to be Aaron Bray is going to finish in P10, Sancinelli and Justice finishing in 11th and 12th. Very close gap there. And now we're going to get Joe Cicchetti coming in 13th. And we'll get the rest of our finishers through. But great run there at the end, Josh.
Yeah, absolutely great run at the end. Miles Crabb able to pull it out there. We're so busy working the cameras, hard to even know what to say. There's so many cameras to choose from here, and action out on the track all at once there. But that group of cars, Miles Crabb, Chris Montgomery, Brian Straczynski, Justin Huffman, and Michelle Lynn, along with Andrew Love there, definitely providing a bunch of action here today. Some great driving, really, really good back and forth there between everybody. We got one more battle here by the looks of it between Wayne Buttermore and Jason Grider right down to the wire here. This is for, I believe, 17th place. Scott Russell is just ahead of them, about to cross the line here as well. We got Jason Grider up the inside of Wayne Buttermore. Going to hang it out to the outside here. Might be able to get that undercut. Don't think he's going to have the power to get that one done here, but we'll have a quick look. I don't think he's going to quite have enough to make it, but it just goes to show you what this track can provide. These Vees too, you can race, right down to 17th place here. We're having battles right to the line, and then there's a few drivers left here, but some pretty awesome racing up front. Lots of drafting, lots of respect between drivers there, and again, cream rising to the top. Miles Crabb actually coming out with a Formula V win amongst a bunch of Formula V weekend warriors. So a bit of an upset there, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. Miles did a great job in the total interval between P1 and P3 was a tenth and a half. So that's how tight that battle was coming to the start-finish line. So great racing up front tonight, and some really good battles in the mid-pack as well. Obviously, this is part of it is you get together with your friends and your colleagues. You get out and race, and it doesn't matter if you're running in first or 11th. You're going to battle to the end of the race, and you're going to fight whoever's around. So we're going to get a replay here of this battle coming through, and you're going to see Miles Crabb keeping that car tight on the inside and just keeping a very, very tight line through. You see Stasinski on the outside kind of loses it a little bit there, but Miles Crabb with a great run, carrying all that speed, keeping it on the inside, and then there is your margin of victory there as they come across the line. Basically a car length between each car. So it's very, very tight battling up there, but great job by all three. Everybody did what they thought they needed to do, and worked out in Miles Crabb's favor. And speaking of Miles Crabb, he is in our interview waiting area. So let's bring Miles in, and we'll talk to him about this race tonight, and we'll have a conversation. So I'm going to drag him in.
Yeah, let's have a chat.
Miles Crabb, congratulations. Welcome into the broadcast booth. Great battle there. 6-car pack up front for most of the race. And then with a nice tight run through Sunset on the last lap to jump from P3 to P1 and still in a very, very tight contest.
Yeah, it was a whole bunch of fun, clean racing. I practiced that move kind of with 3 to go just to see if Brian and Chris were still leading, if they'd let me have it. And they were both throttling it up earlier than I was, or hitting a bump. I don't know. Something was causing them to go wide. And I kind of just did the mental math and said, if I basically drive the thing into pit lane, I should save a bunch of time and I'll be in 3rd gear and I can just run 3rd for as long as I'm willing to do it. And it didn't quite make it to the line. I thought I messed up because I just about over-revved. But yeah, a lot of good fun. I led for a hot second, 1 lap, and decided I really didn't like doing that because I was basing all my break points off of traffic. And finally got a win in the V. We've added more cars, so I can't claim that I've won in everything now, but if this was last season, that'd be every class.
There you go. So yeah, it was a great battle there. Once again, you had a pretty nice contingent up front with some really, really quick drivers, and but managed to pull off the win. So let's talk about the fact that we're in probably the one of the slowest cars that we run here in the Ray Esports League, on one of the biggest tracks that you're ever going to run, being Sebring. So what are kind of the mental challenges involved in running this car at this track?
The inputs are so minor to make the car do anything that it takes a lot of jumping into the Ford is like night and day, because it actually like turns and accelerates and brakes. The V brakes pretty good, but it's all about how you get onto the brakes and the area under the curve of the brake pressure and just doing it right. And you can make it through the corner and run a perfect racing line and be 0.3 off because you didn't do it right. And if you understeer through the middle, it's going to be a bad corner anyway. So it's just it. And then with the pack, you have to check 4 cars behind you to see if they're making a move. It would have been a whole lot more hectic if me, Brian, and Chris didn't get a just awesome launch out of the last corner. If we'd have like run up on each other or somebody had dropped a wheel, Michelle probably would have won.
Yeah,
it was just one of those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Miles, congratulations on your win here in the Formula Vees, and we'll let you give any thanks and shout outs that you might want to give, and we'll let you go prepare for your next event.
Yeah. Thank y'all for broadcasting, as always. Hi, Jessica. Hi, Mom. My phone's blowing up, so I assume other people are watching, so probably Ren and Steven. Ren had a V in the dark ages of SCCA, so hey, I figured out how to drive it and finally have as many wins as you do. Anyway, and thank you for Stevie for putting this on. Again, he does all the work and doesn't get to come play because of his job. So thank y'all for broadcasting. Thank you to Brian for sponsoring the broadcast, and also thank you for the barbecue at June Sprints. And yeah, it was fun.
There we go. All right, Miles, congratulations, and we'll see you next time.
I'll be there.
All right. That was Miles Crabb, your race winner tonight here in the Formula Vees, and we're going to bring in our second place runner there third place runner, which was Brian Stasinski. So we're going to bring him in. So we'll bring Brian down. So Brian, you led for a lot of the race tonight, but at the end, just not enough. Looks like you maybe had a little bit of an issue coming through Sunset Bend that last time. Maybe the car pushed a little bit wider than you might have expected. Ended up in third, but overall, really good race by you and that group up front.
I thought it was fantastic racing, and a huge shout out to Chris, Miles, Justin, Michelle, Andrew. Everybody was being polite, but keeping it edgy out there, and those kind of races are so much fun. Going into the last corner, I wanted to be battling for the lead, and I got what I wanted, and I screwed it up. I was trying to get ahead of Chris and I just held it throttle in a little too long because I washed out wide, and I blew my turn-in point, and there's a groove in there that you need to be in, otherwise you just get washed out and the car's bouncing around. So yeah, huge, just so much fun. I'm only in here because I promised my mom that I would wish her a happy 17th birthday. She's 17 according to what she told my daughter tonight. So happy birthday, Mom.
Well, happy birthday to Mom. Absolutely. 17 is a great age. You know, I would like to say that I'm a little bit, you know, somewhere around there, but I'm not, unfortunately. So congrats to Mom. So I'll ask you the same thing I asked Miles. So what are the kind of the focus points to run the Formula V, which is not the fastest car in iRacing, on one of the biggest tracks, knowing that you're going to have a lot of drafting and a lot of battles, especially when you're up at the front. So what are kind of the focus points that you do in preparation for a race like this?
I'll practice in like 15-minute stints and just kind of keep it fresh, and you know, just try and muscle memory it into me instead of doing longer sessions. But the Formula V, it's a momentum car, so you only have to worry about two things. Keep your minimum speed in the corner up, and then get to full throttle as quickly as you can. That's very tough when you're 2 wide, 3 wide, and you're just trying to navigate the cars around you. I mean, a lot of times, like say going into the hairpin or going into sunset, it's just kind of getting alongside and then backing out, you know, so you aren't going too wide, because that kills momentum, and chaos can come from that. But once again, props to everybody I was driving around. They were great.
Yeah. So Brian, congratulations again on the podium. And we'll let you give any other thanks or shout outs before we let you go and prepare.
Thank you, Jake Schilling, for sponsoring us and getting it on, because, well, I'm qualifying the Formula Ford right now, and it is not going well. So I don't mind you not having me on the broadcast right now. But yeah, Formula V is awesome with getting the broadcast done. So can't give enough thanks to everybody that makes that happen, and SMB for always putting us on a good show for us.
All right, Brian, congratulations again, and thanks, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers.
That was Brian Stasinski, our P3 finisher in tonight's race. Josh, once again, great race tonight. Obviously, you saw how fun the Formula V is as far as its racing ability. Even on a very long track like Sebring, that's not the best as far as smoothness. When you're out there running with just a car with only mechanical grip, makes some of those corners very treacherous. But that front pack, man, they really put on a good show tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. The Vees, the Vees, very unique car. Formula V, I like that. It is kind of for everybody, and you can get out there and race like we saw tonight. You can be in 17th place and be tooth and nail with someone and sweating at the end, and it's a blast. Or you can be up at front with the top 5 or 6 here, putting on quite a good show tonight for everyone. I'm excited to see the rest of this season. We've got, kind of some new players up front here. Andrew Love for a little while has really been showing some speed. Brian Trzynski tonight, clearly a specialist around here. And then, we have our usual players as well, some even missing from this evening too, that maybe we'll see later on in the season. But great win from Miles Crabb there at the end on the inside, just using just enough track to get that line right, and was able to take that win. So pretty awesome stuff. But that's not all we have here on SMB. So we do have a bunch of new shows, or not new shows, but shows coming up in the next little bit. Our next show, I believe, will be what's the date today? The 7th. So actually just after this we have Daytona Road. Daytona Road here in about 20 minutes, actually. One I wish I was in as well. This should be a pretty good one. The Formula 3s around there should be a pretty interesting race. I really do love that track. Pretty split between people whether they like that one or not. Then we have the Formula V Weekend Warriors on Saturday. I'll be calling that one and producing at New Hampshire. I believe that one is going to be in the rain, I have heard as well. So there will be a rain race. then as well. And then we do actually have the SRFs that aren't showing up on this at the moment, but we do have an SRF race as well this Sunday at 11:45, and I believe that one is at Phoenix Raceway, so that one should be a pretty interesting race as well. SRFs are back for the season, so rejoice for that one as well. And then I believe we have XSLR off for 1 week, but we are back after that, and then our usual lineup as well, Charles. But yeah, pretty great race tonight there. I'll let you close her up.
Well, thank you very much, Josh. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to. I'm going to watch that F3 race at Daytona Road. I don't think I've really done that in myself, but I think that's going to be it's going to be a fantastic race, and as well as that, I love New Hampshire. Just from a commentary, it's just a fun. That's a fun road course.
If you can handle it,
so,
you can. It's good. If the drivers out there can, there's a bit of complaining sometimes about New Hampshire. It doesn't get used a lot, right? But it's got some character, and if you drive it well, man, you can get some good racing around there.
Yeah, I definitely say character is the operative word there. It is just completely different than places we would normally go. So I'm looking forward to that, and I've never seen a race in the rain there, so that's going to be going to be something new. But we'll wrap this up for tonight. Thank you very much for joining in here for the Ray Esports Club Racing League here at Sebring with the Formula Vees tonight. For myself and for Josh Wilkie, thank you very much, Josh, for jumping in there in the commentary, as well as everything you do for us.
Enjoyed it
behind the scenes. We will see you next time on some racetrack near you, probably in your sim, and we'll be looking forward to the next broadcast. Go check that F3 race out. Everybody have a good night. We'll see you next time.